وقفت مع حضرتك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
قل لا إله إلا الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق. الحمد لله، الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. الحمد لله الذي خصنا بخير نبي أرسل وبخير كتاب أنزل، وجعلنا بهما خير أمة أخرجت للناس. فيا رب لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد، بيده الخير، يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. وأشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا محمدًا عبد الله ورسوله وصفوته وخيرته من خلقه، أدى الأمانة وبلغ الرسالة ونصح للأمة، وجاهد في الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين من ربه، وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. اللهم يا ربنا أحينا على سنة نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأمتنا على ملته، واحشرنا في زمرته مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى، وخير الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put laws, sunan, laws just like the laws of physics and chemistry and biology and you know, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put all these physical laws in the universe, and He also placed laws in the governing the behavior and the dynamics and the state of communities and of the human societies in general. Sunanullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sunan al-ijtima'iyya, or the social or the societal laws. And one of these sunan, one of these laws, is mentioned several places in the Quran, but explicitly in two places, once in Surah Al-Baqarah and once in Surah Al-Hajj. And this is what we call, or what the scholars have called, Sunnatu Tadafu', which roughly translated as the law of the balance of power, or the counterbalance of power. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one of the ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah, after commenting on the story of Sayyidina Dawood alayhi salam and Talut and Jalut, and then He said, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ ذُو فَضْلٍ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. If it weren't for Allah placing people or two groups of people to counterbalance each other, then the earth would have been corrupted. لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ. And what kind of fasad? This ayah left it general. In general, if you don't have this counterbalance of power, there is going to be corruption. There's going to be mischief. There's going to be disturbance. In Surah Al-Hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further explains what is actually very likely to be affected when you don't have this balance of power. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hajj says, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ. Again, the same first part of the ayah. And He goes further to say that what is going to be affected here, most likely, and maybe the first thing to be affected, is religious freedom. That basically says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعُ وَبِيَعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدُ يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا وَلَيَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. That if it were not for this counterbalance of power, this religious freedom of people is going to be lost, because He says, لَهُدِّمَتْ. These things will be destroyed. Physically, or not physically, but people will be prevented from worshipping in their temples, in their churches, in their convents where they go and of course in their masajid. And I thought of this very closely and very deeply as we come to this season of elections every year. Every year it comes to my mind, but this time I decided maybe we should mention that this is actually what we are seeing here basically in a democracy. What happens, and you may think whatever you want about democracy and find the pros and cons of it, or whatever, you like it, you don't like it, you think it's serving the purpose, it's not serving the purpose. This is not the topic of the khutbah. We can have that discussion later. But for now, we think of this democracy and the mechanism of voting, giving the individual citizens of a country or of a society the power, at least once a year, to go to these ballot boxes and practice this power. And this power, actually, on this election day, the most powerful group of people in this whole political system are the citizens themselves that are going to the voting booths and the polling stations in order to cast their vote. And they cast their vote, whether we realize it or not. When we cast our vote, we're actually implementing this sunnah of sunnat al-tadafu'. Because we make a decision. I don't like this person, I'm going to vote against I'm going to vote for the other person. Or I appreciate what he or she has done in the past, I'm going to vote for them. Or I don't like, or I do like this measure that says my own money, which is the tax money that I pay as a resident or a citizen, is going to be used for this or not used for that. So when we think about, we have to link everything we do in this life, my brothers and sisters, to the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah. Otherwise, we just go with the flow and we're not realizing what we're actually doing. If you go and you cast your vote, what you're doing now is basically you are contributing or you are participating or implementing this Sunnah of Tadafa. Because if that does not happen, Allah makes it very explicit in the Quran. It says, لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ. When you have dictatorship, people governing unchecked, 30 years, 50 years, 20 years, whatever, no checks or balances, the people have no say, what happens? Tyranny, oppression, corruption, loss of religious freedom, as you know, the ayah in Surah Al-Hajj explains very, very explicitly. I don't have to convince you of that. I don't have to convince you that if there is not this tadafu' that you will have oppressed minorities, you will have corruption, you will have tyranny, you will have extrajudicial killings and people who are just have no right and no say in the way that their country is run. And actually they can't even be safe just walking on the street, because if, you know, in an autocratic or a dictatorship or an authoritarian regime, you're just like a person of authority doesn't like the way you look walking on the street. You can just snatch you and you can disappear. And that's what happens because of the lack of at-tadafu'. So, when we go and we express this, when we practice this, when we do the voting, what are we voting for? We're voting for a candidate versus, one candidate versus the other, either because we trust that person more or that we think that this person is going to do a better job than the other. We also, and that could be from the city council, the school board, the board of education, to the state senate, to the assembly, to the federal representatives in the House of Representatives or the Senate. It's a whole range, and this is our chance to practice this kind of power that the system has given us, and we do it because we do it as part of this implementation of this sunnah, or the law of qanun or sunnat al-tadafu'. A very obvious question that people ask almost every year. People ask, what is the ما هو الحكم الشرعي للتصويت? What is the actual Shari ruling of voting or participating in the political process in general? And our scholars have written recently quite a lot about this. Notably, one of them was Dr. Salah Sultan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve his trouble, and he is in jail because of speaking out against authorities in jail in Egypt for a long time now. So please make dua for him and for everyone who is jailed unjustifiably, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them relief. He wrote an excellent article about this, and also Dr. Salah Sawi and some other scholars, and I'm sure there's a lot. But the conclusion that they have come to, it's basically, it's the political participation or voting in particular, it goes in the range of being a right or a privilege that you have as a citizen, and you have the option or you have the right to practice. So that's kind of the bare minimum. Two, actually becomes a mandatory thing that you have to do as a Muslim, from a Shari point of view. When does it become, or when is it a right, and when does it become an obligation? It's a right, they say, when things are going well. So meaning like, the options are okay, when people are going to, anyone who is in charge, they seem like they are equally good. There's no particular issue that we are facing as individuals or as a community, and therefore that becomes a right that you can practice it or you may choose not to. However, when things are not going well, when there is a threat to either the direction that the country is going as a whole, or a threat to the community or the minorities or the communities including the Muslim community, there is a threat that things may not go well or are not going well. Islamophobia, the erosion of civil rights and freedoms, the corruption that we see in various levels of government, and the corruption that we see whether it's foreign policy, how our country is dealing with our Palestinian brothers and sisters, or we're dealing with Syria, or we're dealing with South America, or we're dealing with countries in Africa, or whatever the case may be, up to or down to where it actually touches our daily lives, where things are eroding in terms of financially, civil rights, civil obligation, civil and freedoms, liberties, and so on and so forth. And you can imagine, I don't need to preach that you actually see that things are not going well. As a direction of our country as a whole, there's so much to be fixed, and for us as Muslims in particular. And if we take this analysis by the scholars, then it makes that voting, we have to come to the conclusion that voting is mandatory on us, at least as Muslims. I think it's mandatory on everyone. But at least from a Shari'i point of view, according to the analysis of these scholars, that we actually have to go and vote. There is no excuse unless there's something that is overwhelming that will prevent us from casting our vote. It is an obligation that we owe to our country, and also we owe to our community, we owe to our families, we owe to the future generations. It's a Shari'i conclusion. This is an analysis and a conclusion. Also, if we think now from a very practical terms, using very practical terms, I'd like to quote one of the greatest minds of the 20th century in terms of the Islamic movement and the furthering of the cause of Muslims globally and in politics and so on. And this is Professor Najmuddin Arbakan, rahmatullahi alayhi. You know who he is, of course. I don't think anyone doesn't know who Arbakan is. He's the leader, or one of the most prominent leaders of the Islamic movement, and then he became a prime minister in Turkey. He was removed by a coup twice, and he came back. And he was one of the biggest thinkers of the Islamic movement when it comes to especially the political process and involvement and state building and so on and so forth. He said, he has a very interesting quote, very powerful. He said, if Muslims do not care about politics, they will be ruled by politicians who do not care about Muslims. Think of it. If we as a community, la qaddar Allah, na'udhu billah, we all of us just came to the conclusion, you know what? We are not going to vote. We're not going to be involved in politics. Would you expect to see the gentleman who was running for senator for the state of New Jersey to come to the mosque and to plead with us and to explain to us why we should go and vote and make a pitch for himself? We see the people who from the Board of Education and the State Assembly and the State Senate and every levels of politicians, would we see them actually coming and caring about that? About us? Of course not. So think about it this way. If Muslims do not care about politics, they will be ruled by politicians who do not care about Muslims. And we can't afford in this country to have politicians that are running our affairs while they don't care about us as a community. We cannot afford that. That would be detrimental, not just for our state right now, it will be detrimental for the future of Muslims in this country and the future of the country as a whole, to be honest. So really, this is a very brief and this actually go and do some reading on your own and try to come to your own conclusion. Why? Why is there any excuse for me as an American citizen living in this country, in this particular, historic time, where it's basically we're at a crossroad. Either, this country is going to go the way of integration and the way of pluralism and so on and so forth, while there are others who are pulling it exactly the opposite way. Fear-mongering, division. I was talking to a brother from Staten Island. After their struggle to actually have their masjid built, which took so long, there's two of the most famous, most well-known Islamophobes in this country that actually produced a manual. You can see it even online. How to stop a masjid from being built in your neighborhood. And they have a plan, plan step number 1, step number 2, step number 3. There are people who are trying to take this country into this direction, the direction of division, of fear, of discrimination, we have to be aware that this is not just a common business as usual kind of time, and therefore we have to learn and we have to understand exactly what our deen, what our religion is telling us in terms of this political or the involvement in the political process, and feel it. You're going, whether you're voting by mail or you're going to the polling station, that you have the niyyah that I am doing this for my community, I'm doing this for the Muslims, I'm doing this for my country, and then inshallah that will be even counted as an act of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you get rewarded for that. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. So I want to remember and memorize that quote from Professor Arbakan rahmatullah alayh. If Muslims do not care about politics, they will be ruled by politicians who do not care about Muslims. And this is something that we cannot afford to happen. Now, we hear a lot of voices, people saying, I'm not interested in voting, this is all a sham, they're all equally bad, they're all just like this, they're all like that. I mean, brothers and sisters, when I go to vote, I am not going to choose between, I'm not having in mind that I'm choosing between Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu and Abu Jahl, for example. This is never the case. I mean, it's like you're going to do what? When I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote, as I said, essentially because I'm part of this sunnah of tadafu'. I'm trying to balance the power so that there is no extreme shift, or there is no one power actually takes over and there's corruption, as I mentioned in the beginning of the khutbah. But I'm also practicing one of the most important aspects of fiqh. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi made a very famous quote also that he said, I'm not going to verbatim give it to you because I don't have it in front of me, but he said that to the effect that fiqh is almost always not about choosing between right and wrong. Because right and wrong is so clear, and right and wrong doesn't really need, should I drink this, na'udhu billah, alcohol, or should I drink juice? I mean, that doesn't need much of fiqh. I have the two options. I know one is absolutely haram and one is halal, and I know what the Sharia tells me. But fiqh, as he said, is about ارتكاب أخف الضررين أو تحقيق أعظم الخيرين. You have to maximize the harm maximize the benefit, minimize the harm. تحقيق المصلحة بأكبر قدر ممكن ودفع المفسدة لأكبر درجة ممكنة. This is fiqh. And we have to be realistic. We cannot be naive and idealistic and cynical and say, you know, they're all the same. No, they're not. They're never all, I mean, almost never the same. There is some distinction between this candidate and that candidate, between this party and that party, between this initiative, you know, yes or no. And we owe it to ourselves and to our country and to our community to try to understand. When I see an initiative on the ballot, there is one initiative, you know, in the district where I'm, you know, supposed to vote. What is it about? Because it's my money now. They are talking about spending my money. So I have to know, what is this money spent for and whether I agree or not. Well, this person here is saying, you know, I'm going to go, and if I go to Congress, I'm going to vote for this and vote for that and vote against this and vote against that. What do I see is the better of the two choices? What do I see the lesser of the two evils? So that is fiqh. Fiqh is almost never about black and white, right and wrong. So being cynical doesn't help. Being cynical, it means like you're just not in the equation. And as our Sheikh reminded us so many times before, if we don't go and vote and we cannot show the numbers to the politicians saying, see how many Muslims actually voted here, how many thousands we have, then eventually they'll lose interest. They won't, you know, the guy running for Senate or the guy running for Congress is not going to come here and plead with you to go and vote for them. It's not going to happen because now we don't count anymore. That, we cannot accept that. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this fiqh and the insight that actually we do what is right in order to maximize the benefit and minimize the harm, and not to be idealistic and cynical and say, no, this is all a sham, I'm not going to. We don't help anybody by doing this. We don't help our children or our families or our community or our country by just being passive and being cynical. I would like, inshallah, to get rid of that attitude altogether. And in the end, and I'll close with that, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to ask us about on the Day of Judgment? Is He going to ask us about, well, the US foreign policy was wrong and therefore you will be held accountable? No, Allah will not ask us about this. Ask us about what did you do in order to try to minimize the harm that is coming on your brothers and sisters in Palestine or in Syria or in Afghanistan or wherever, or in Yemen. Have you done anything? What could I have done, Ya Allah? You know, okay, so let's think about it now. What could you have done, at least to make this much of a difference? وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَى اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَسَتُرَدُّونَ إِلَى عَالِمِ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ فَيُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. This is, our obligation is to go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, we tried, we've done our best. النتائج نحن غير مسؤولين عنها. The results, the outcomes, Allah will not hold us accountable for. That is to, as we started with a part of our aqidah of sunnat al-tadafu and how things work in the community, we also end with an extremely important part of our aqidah, is that I am going to do this to have an excuse before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, معذرة إلى ربكم ولعلهم يتقون. يعني just to do this and to be able to have my hujjah with me on the Day of Judgment to say, Ya Allah, I tried. Now the outcome is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it actually is dictated by the collection of the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I hope and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we all have this, inshallah, positive and participatory attitude in what actually is affecting our lives on a daily basis, and what is being in this country as actually what is affecting the entire world. Because if this is the superpower of, or one of the superpowers of, however you want to see it, this is actually what we do here, what this country does, have implications all over the world. And what each and every citizen of this country does or does not do will also have an implication for the entire human race, not just now. And everything from oppression, from reform, from environmental threats to the people now denying the climate. Are you happy with that? Think about when you're voting. Are you happy that people were saying, no, you can just keep burning out the atmosphere and just destroy the earth? Are you not happy with that? Just whatever you find that actually motivates you, think about when you're going to vote, inshallah. And first and foremost, think that you are doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of the community, and for the sake of the country and the entire world, inshallah. اللهم اهدنا وعافنا واعف عنا وتجاوز عنا تجاوز عن سيئاتنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم يا ربنا اجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا وجلاء همنا وذهاب غمومنا وهمومنا. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار على الوجه الذي يرضيك عنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم ارفع الهم عن المهمومين والغم والكرب والظلم عن المظلومين والمكروبين والمغمومين يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فك أسر المأسورين. اللهم يا ربنا خفف عن إخواننا في سجون الطغاة يا ربي وتحت قنابل وتحت مدافع الظالمين المحتلين المجرمين يا أرحم الراحمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
دائما أبدا. أرجو من الإخوة جميعا بعد الصلاة الانتظار، ما أحد يخرج إن شاء الله دقائق، في عنا ضيوف مهمين إن شاء الله، فأرجو من جميع الإخوة أن ينتظروا ويسمعوا رسالة من So please listen to our guests after صلاة directly. جزاكم الله خير.
استقيموا رحمكم الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر. كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون. كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a good response, mashallah. We don't need to have another assalamu alaikum. We usually have to do that twice. Happy the Friday before election, everyone. It's a very important Friday. As we heard in this beautiful khutbah by Dr. Hisham Abdallah, the importance of us having a voice and having the importance of participating in the civic society. And we cannot be more happy today to see our friends who constantly work with us throughout the year. They show up here on Friday to tell us that the importance of us making sure that we all go out and vote and have a voice, inshallah. This work could not have been done without the excellent work of our outreach coordinator, Brother Salah Mustafa, who's going to, inshallah, be introducing everyone here. So please, for those who are going to be with us for a few minutes, have a seat, inshallah, so we can have everyone here. We're very happy to have our governor with us here. So a huge round of applause to everyone who's here before we start. Oh, yes. Excellent.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We want to thank our honored guests for coming today. The governor, who's been a dear friend of our community and will work with us, we know, to further our goals. And we also have our congressman. But before we start, I want to start as we usually do. At ICPC, we are so proud of our own community for the successes that we've had. And what I want to start with is introducing three brothers, as I've told you more all the time, three brothers who do sujood right next to you every Friday, and as much as they can during the week and during Ramadan. I want to start with Brother Ala Abdul Aziz, and I'm going to ask all three of them to be very brief, who's running for council in Patterson.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm no stranger to ICPC. I want to thank everyone for being here, but we do have a very, very important election coming up Friday. I represent the largest Muslim population and Palestinian and Arab population in the state of New Jersey, in the tri-state area in South Patterson. I know many of you are familiar with it. I'm on the ballot. I've been honored and humbled to represent the South Patterson. And inshallah, I'm 1J on the ballot. After you vote for the entire Row B ticket, which I'm supporting completely, do not forget to go down to 1J. Please tell your family and friends. Inshallah, we'll be celebrating in South Patterson. Thank you.
And next, our dear brother, Salim Patel in Passaic.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So most of you know me because I come fundraise in Ramadan, but I'm not asking for your money today. I'm going to ask for your support for those of you that are from the city of Passaic. Please come out, and I'm also 1J on the ballot. It's a special election, so I'm supporting the entire Row B ticket. I want to support the governor, the chairman of the party, and every Democrat that's running. So that's who I am personally supporting. Thank you everyone that has supported me in the past. Assalamu alaikum.
And our third brother, again, a brother from ICPC, our freeholder, the first Muslim freeholder in the history of Passaic County, and inshallah higher office in the future.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We're so honored to be joined by our governor and our congressman and everybody, but I want to say I am so proud, as Brother Salah said, to be a part of this congregation. And the thing that I love about the ICPC community, about all of us, is that we never allow anything from the outside to make us ashamed of who we are. We raise our children and throughout this community to hold our heads high, to be proud of our faith, to be proud of our culture, to be proud of our language, and inshallah we will never, never allow anybody from the outside to let us feel any differently. This is the best of America right here in this masjid. So I'm asking, this election is important as ever. It's a repudiation of everything happening in Washington and all the people with the hate. I'm asking for your vote for our Roe v. ticket, myself, Asad Akhtar, our freeholder director, Sandy Lazara, freeholder John Bartlett, and very importantly, our clerk candidate, Danielle Ireland Imhoff. She's the only one running against a Republican that holds the office currently a clerk. They are actively trying to keep people from this community and other places from having their vote count and having easy access to vote. They say one thing here and they say another thing in other parts of the county. Be aware of that. We need a new clerk. I'm asking for your vote for Roe B. Democratic ticket on Tuesday.
Thank you, brother, and thank you for introducing the county candidates. I also want to recognize a candidate who is a dear friend of our community, Lauren Murphy, running for council in the city of Clifton. Please do not forget your friends on Tuesday. Please do not forget your friends. And I also want to recognize another sister of our community, Amani Ramadan. Again, running for Board of Education in Patterson. Mashallah, mashallah. In Passaic County, we're probably over 30 people running for office from our community. We should all be proud. And next, I want to introduce, we can't say enough. We can't say enough. He's an honorary member of our community. Actually, all of them are. Our chairman of the Democratic Party, and one of the dearest people you will ever meet in your life, Chairman John Curry.
Thank you, Allah. Hello, everybody. I have to always show respect to my Imam. I love this man so dearly and what he does for the community. And I say what he says, you know, we are one and we work together. But what is going in the White House and around even this state, even in this county with our opposition, I am asking you to support all of these candidates. I have been fortunately a part of every person that's been introduced life and supported them. So again, where Assad, just bring your running mates up with you where they can see them, because I'm going to be brief so we can hear from our congressman. I would appreciate, this is the Roe B team. They have shown success. The new person on the team is her dad is a religious leader in this state with about 9,000 parishioners. She's running for county clerk. The office will be somewhat place you will visit. Well, there's mortgages and deeds, passports, notaries, and many other services, veteran services. This is the young lady we want to run the office properly, because it isn't now. It's not run at all. So please remember on Tuesday or earlier, go out and please do what you can to support Roe B and these candidates on Roe J. You know, they're J1, J6 in Clifton, and I'm just honored. And 9, I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, this man needs no introduction. He has been with your community as long as I have, and that's many, many years. Let's hear from my great congressman, Congressman Bill Pascrell.
Just 1 second, and I apologize. Our dear brother, not running for office, but will be soon, another brother that is from ICPC in elected office, Hisham Abdallah. I apologize, Congressman. As the chairman said, again, he's been with our community for so long. For those of you who've seen him fight for us in Congress, who've seen him fight, I'll be blunt, the racists in Congress attacking our community, do a Google, do a YouTube search, and watch him defend our community.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Imam. To your beautiful family, to the family of this mosque. We are a family. We've been together many, many years. But I am not tired. And I will not yield. I made a commitment in this mosque many, many moons ago that I would fight and defend equality in this country. That you respect people for who they are. That regardless how people cook, speak, or look, or practice their religion, everybody is equal. Everybody is equal. And nobody is above the law. Not even the President of the United States. So we come to this election, and it's not a presidential election, and the governor is not running. You'll hear from him in a few moments. But I say to you, this is bigger than political parties, than Democrat, Republican. This is a fight for the soul of America. That's what this is. You must be part of this, regardless of where you live. And when you say to yourself, it doesn't matter who you vote for, you are wrong. Look what we have now. What do you mean it doesn't matter? It sure does matter. This election is critical. I'm working so hard for our Roby team here in Bergen County, Line A, Line 1. But that's the team. And I'm asking you to please get out your friends. Even the people you don't like, talk to them. Tell them to come out to vote. Even members of our own family sometimes we don't want to talk to. Bring them out to vote. This is critical for what's going to happen 2 years from now. Now is that election. Think about it. So, we come out strong, we'll come out better. Thank you for your support over the years. I'm running this year, but more importantly, the rest of the team, Bob Menendez, our freeholders, our county clerk, members of the Board of Ed, council members, I ask you to please come out to vote Tuesday and bring your friends. We are so honored. Thank you. We are so honored to have our great governor with us today. This isn't the first time he's been here. And he comes here not because it's election time only, but he comes here because he has a great respect for this community. And you know, in the appointments that he has made as governor of this state, his actions speak louder than his words. Because many times politicians promise and they never deliver. I thought I heard that from the last speaker too, that was here before. But his job is to deliver. That's what you make a judgment on. I'm telling you, he's our friend, not just election time. And I want to introduce the governor of this state, who is a very fresh air for everybody. Let's have a good hand for Governor Phil Murphy.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to give glory and honor to God, first of all, most importantly. Thank you, Congressman. I came here first 3 or 4 years ago. Very memorable visit. And I've been back many times since. I remember sitting with Imam Katanani, with Salah Mustafa, Omar Awad, others. I think Al Abdulaziz was part of that group. Chairman Curry was with me. And I remember taking 2 lessons away from our conversation, in addition to how moved I was spiritually. Number 1, the Muslim community is one of the most important communities in New Jersey, but it goes beyond just security, right? It's obviously we want to keep each other safe. I understand that. But it goes to the economic vibrancy that this community brings to the state, the cultural, the educational, the extraordinary children and grandchildren. This is the second largest Muslim American community in America, only behind Michigan. It is the largest Palestinian community in America. We wear that as a badge of honor. And it is a community as important as it is across the whole spectrum of reasons, not just keeping each other safe. That was one lesson. The other lesson I heard loud and clear was don't just come here when you need the votes. I want to be the guy that I'm not just here when I need you, but I'm here when you need me. So, right? Unlike a lot of folks up here, I'm not running for office this year. I'm here to pay my respects. I want you to support these folks. I want you to support Senator Bob Menendez, Congressman Bill Pascrell, the whole Line B extraordinary crew up with us today. This is an election that matters so deeply. Our country is being torn apart, us versus them, based on race, gender, religion, economic class. That's not who we are as Americans. I'm still guided by that poem on the base of the Statue of Liberty. We're a country that always has been on our best day, open arms, welcoming all to this great and extraordinary country. And unfortunately and tragically, the words have now morphed into actions. Jews being slaughtered in Pittsburgh, Coptic Christians being slaughtered today outside of Cairo, on and on and on. That's not America. We're a country that prides ourselves on the whole spectrum of communities, finding ways to find common ground. As Salah and Omar know, and the Imam knows, I just got back from a trip to both Germany and Israel. And we had a mostly economic mission. But there were three really important meetings that we had in Israel. Number one, with a group called Sakui, which exists to find common ground between Jews and Arabs inside of Israel. Amen. So the second one was a boarding school, EMIS, European Mediterranean International School, right in the middle of Israel, that has a boarding school that has both Palestinians and Israelis living under one roof. And probably most importantly, I spent the chunk of the last day we were there with Palestinian business leaders in East Jerusalem. And these companies invariably had presence not just in East Jerusalem, but the West Bank, and in some cases in Gaza. And it was an extraordinary meeting because they're small and growing, in some cases big businesses that are representing the future, just like so many businesses that are represented in the Muslim American community and in specific the Palestinian community in this great state and in this great community. I feel like the ICPC Imam is a home away from home for me. You have always welcomed me with open arms. And again, I want to make sure, I know you know how important the Muslim American community is in New Jersey, but I want you to know that I know how important it is. And it's not just security, it's economic, it's cultural, it's education, it's faith. Now is the time to find common ground in our state, to come together and not rip ourselves apart like some would want. And I want to raise my hand as a brother in arms in that effort to come together. Celebrate, on the one hand, the uniqueness of each of our communities, but also embrace the common ground that we can find. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, everyone. And again, as we said, we encourage everyone to have participate in their civic duty. And inshallah, bismillah, we see everyone go out and vote on Tuesday. Thank you so much again for our guests.